Contact a Family is a UK charity providing information and support to families with disabled children, whatever their disability. This podcast is an honest account of a mother's experience of having a son with juvenile Batten disease. Can you tell me a little bit about your family?
I was divorced some years ago, way before he had any problems, so in effect I've been a single parent. I haven't got any other children.
How old was your son when you first had concerns about him?
When he started infant school, I thought he was struggling a bit with his reading. Within the 3 years he was there, I noticed that he was perhaps not learning in a way that I had expected him to.
What did you do about that?
I raised some issues with the school, but at that time I was told that they were the professionals. They didn't think there was a problem.
How did you move things along?
Thinking back, because it's a long time ago now, because he's 21. When he started junior school, I had a very supportive Senko. I think almost straight away it was noted that he did have special needs. And also we were on holiday in West Country. It was in 1995. This was the first indication I had that there was really something wrong with his sight. He was running ahead of me and I could see that he couldn't see a chain fence ahead of him, and he fell straight over that. I took him to see an optician and he didn't find anything wrong with his sight at all. I was still worried, so I contacted a dyslexia institute in London and they recommended an optician. She saw something on the back of the retina. Where I was working at the time, I was in a private healthcare scheme, so I took him privately to see a consultant in London. It was a very worrying time, actually. I remember there were tube strikes, so we went up and we stayed the night before. And then we saw her very early one morning. She carried out extensive tests. We had to go back in the afternoon. She told me that he was going blind, and really that was quite a shock to me because I had no idea that it was going to be that sort of problem. She said that he had cone and rod dystrophy, a genetic disease. But the other thing that she said that stuck in my mind was that cone and rod dystrophy is sometimes an underlying symptom of a metabolic disorder. I questioned her a bit at the time about that, but she said he's got no other symptoms, so we won't go down that route. It was an awful day. In 96, he didn't really have any other health issues at all, so I had no reason to believe there was any other problem. His sight was going quite badly then, and he was approaching 11, and I was thinking about senior schools. I did go and see a special school out of county, and I thought that was amazing. And I started to look at other local schools, because I knew I'd have to jump through hoops to get funding. The biggest thing was I wanted him to be with other youngsters who were going through the same thing. It wasn't easy to get him, but we eventually got there. It was also quite an emotional thing because he had to weekly board. This was quite difficult to deal with. I was sending my son away. It's not something I really wanted to do, but it seemed to me like the best option at the time.
How did you take to it?
He has always been incredibly accepting. I wouldn't say it took more than a month for him to settle in and to get into a routine. And he was there for 4 years. He'd started having fits prior to that. And then at Moorfields, they decided to do a test for Batten disease. I looked it all up on the internet and I thought, this can't be my son. But in January 2000, I had the result of the test. They wanted me to go up to London to get the result of the test. Half of me knew it was going to be bad news. I thought, I don't want to drive back, I don't want to be on public transport. Just phone me with the results. It was, well, a very black time. It was a hideous start to the millennium. I don't really know how I got through it. I was going around in complete blackness. I was very well supported by my sisters and my brother, who's very practical, very down to earth. But there was one point where I woke up and I could only see black. And I thought, if I carry on like this, I am going to be physically ill. I think something in me clicked over at that point. Also, he was coming home every Friday. I had to be there for him. Plus, I was still working. I wouldn't ever say that we got back to normal, but we got to a different place. That year in 2000, I'd recently got onto the internet. I printed off masses of stuff. That would be one thing I'd say to parents, don't go searching the internet for stuff, because a lot of it's out of date. And what you really want is the up-to-date stuff, the stuff that tells you that they're doing research and, where we are now. At that point, there was a scientific conference in Oxford in September of 2000. So I went to the last day, which was open for families, and I met the few members that were part of the Batten Disease Family Association at that point.
How did you find the support that the other parents were offering you?
I think it's a very personal thing of how you deal with this because it's your child. It's helpful to talk to other people, I think, and I have learned a lot from other families, but I think what I got most support from was local organisations to where I live. But the Batten Disease Family Association has changed considerably from what it was 9 years ago.
You were given the diagnosis over the phone. Was that followed up with any information to help you?
I was sent a letter from a geneticist. I suppose it shocked me in a way because she said in the letter that she thought I should seriously consider telling him about his diagnosis. That shocked me because that was the very last thing that I would do. I did absolutely everything I possibly could to protect my son from the knowledge that he had Batten disease, because I thought, how would he cope with that? How would an adult cope with prognosis that you're going to die, but before you die you're going to lose everything?
Now he's 21?
21.
Does he know about his diagnosis now?
No, because I think with him, he's had a very gradual decline in his abilities over the years. I suppose in a way, I found it difficult to say the word blind. And I think he probably said it to me first. I'm blind, Mum. And it was like, oh, well, yes. But you're very lucky because you have this, that and the other. You're very strong. So I've always pushed the positive, and he's been very accepting. When he started having the seizures, it was just, well, some people have seizures, we get some medicine. So I didn't make a big deal about it.
Right.
And that seems to have worked with him. I don't know whether it would work with other children.
Yeah. At the moment, he's not living at home.
When he was at school, and he left there at 16, he did go to college for 2 further years and was very happy there. So at 18, what did I do with him then? You know, that was a big worry. It took me a lot of planning. But throughout him being at school, I'd contacted the only residential home in the UK that was specifically set up to look after young adults with Batten disease. I thought he would have the best quality of life there that I could get him, because I know as a carer, with trying to get support for him whilst he was at home, it's so difficult because of funding issues. So throughout the time he was at school, everyone was pretty much signed up to the fact that when he left, that he would go there. I was offered a place. It was going to be great. You could go straight from college to there. But then that's when we reached a little bit of an impasse with the local authority. We were going to, first of all, transfer to the adult learning disabilities team. For some reason, we were then referred to the adult physical disabilities team, who said that they didn't think it was the right place for him and they weren't going to fund it. So then I had 6 months of a very difficult time trying to argue my case. In the end, I had to involve the local MP, the local councillor, college, the consultant, my local paediatric nurse, and I think that they couldn't say no because there was no other option. He left college in June 2006 and he moved there in October 2006. During the interim period, I had him at home full-time. I was exhausted. The only support I got was when I was at work. My sister helped me sometimes. At that time, I arranged direct payments. That was something I was reluctant to do, but in the end it worked out well. I was in a state of anxiety the whole time, really. It was just the challenge of keeping him motivated and interested because he wasn't seeing any other youngsters. He has enjoyed it. He's settled in really well. He came home for the first year, but for the last 2 years he hasn't really because of his mobility problems and lots of other physical issues. I don't work Fridays anymore. I go up there on a Friday, stay overnight, come back Saturday tea times. So I see him every week, and then his dad goes up. He spends 30 hours a week on average at the activity centre. He has a bit of gym work. He does IT work. He did know how to touch type at one point, but he has lost that ability now. He has lost his speech pretty much now, which I have found the hardest thing of all, because I phone him every night.
Is the funding secure to stay there for as long as he needs to?
I don't think you can ever say it's secure. We had an annual review in August. At the moment, the local authority is still funding it, but they don't want to. They want the continuing care team at the primary care trust to pick up the funding, and they won't. At the moment, that's way down my list of concerns. It's the ideal place. Maybe later on they could argue there are homes locally that could deal with his nursing needs, maybe because eventually that may be all that he needs. But I hope that's a long way off because I'm an optimist. So that's how I live my life. The best quality of life for my son, and I live in hope that they will come up with a cure. Or if not a cure, something, a therapy that will help delay what, is sort of death.
The Contact a Family helpline can provide information and support on many of the points raised in this podcast. The advisors on our free phone helpline can assist with issues around benefits entitlement, navigating the NHS, and issues around education. We can also locate local and national support groups, provide medical information, and link parents whose children have rare disorders. In addition, we produce a wide range of publications. For further information, visit our website at www.cafamily.org.uk or call our free phone helpline on 0808 808 3555. For video interviews with parents, visit our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/cafamily. This recording was produced in September 2010. The views expressed in this podcast are for information purposes only. The material is in no way intended to replace professional medical care or attention by a qualified practitioner. Condition symptoms may vary in type or severity amongst individuals. This podcast is to demonstrate the personal views and experiences of this family only. For approved medical information about this condition, see the Contact a Family website at www.cafamily.org.uk or contact your doctor.